Well, here we are again, and we're going to be working on the van yet again today. It's one of those things, having a reliable vehicle is somewhat of a priority, and I need to sell that Caravan as soon as possible. So we got to get everything sorted out on this before Why is everything so loud? I've got to get everything sorted out on this before we can really continue on with any other projects. And we've got a bit of a battery drain that makes the batteries die on this thing when it sits for a while. So we got to figure that out. If you enjoy videos working on vehicles and electrical stuff, this is the one for you. If not, well, there's always more videos later. Hopefully you enjoy. My desk is kind of a mess right now, but we have some stuff here to continue working on the new van. First off, we've got some turn signals and LED headlights because it has the old school, like, halogen ones, and well, these were cheaper than replacing the bulbs. So these are some headlights. These are what they call switchback turn signals. They are white in color until you turn on the turn signal, then they turn amber. And the other two things here, we have the Cat S60 thermal camera phone and this Unity DC Hall effect clamp ammeter thing. So that van out there has an issue. There's some sort of quiescent power draw that I haven't been able to find yet. After 2 nights, if I try to start the thing up, it won't start anymore. So I would estimate with those batteries, we've got at least an amp power draw somewhere. So we're going to use these two things. We're going to start off by using the thermal camera to take a look at the fuse boxes and the relay distribution boards and see if we can see anything that's a little bit warm. We have enough of a power draw that I think we might be able to see something with the thermal camera. And depending on what that tells us, I mean, I'm not going to rely on this 100%. It's worth a try, though. It's kind of fun. We're going to use this thing. This will allow us to pinpoint exactly how much power is being used. And from that, we can extrapolate what may be pulling the power and then trace it down using the different wires. This thing has, I think, 10 milliamp resolution, but I don't know if I trust the, you know, actual calibration that low, but it's a little compact thing. Okay, here we are at the van. We're gonna start with the power distribution box here under the hood. Now, whoops, almost dropped the phone. Now, the thing to remember with this is not the end-all be-all for, you know, detecting small current draws, but in this case I think it's worth checking out. And I have not disturbed the van, I have not turned on the key, I have not opened the door because any sort of power draw could affect this. Basically, we're just looking for temperature gradients that are, well, different. And I'm not seeing anything here right off. So whatever this relay is right here. Oh, actually, you know what? Interesting note, that's a false reading. I happen to know that this relay is not energized. That's in storage. So that goes to show you how tricky it can be with thermal cameras to figure stuff out. They're usually better for higher loads, but yeah, see, now that I've touched it, it's glowing super bright. So let's get that out of there. So I'm not seeing anything here that indicates much of a power draw. But just to illustrate how these thermal cameras work, here is sort of an image of this plastic piece right here. All I'm gonna do is put my hand on this for a couple of seconds. Now we'll look at it again with the thermal camera. And you can see there's a handprint there. So these things are very sensitive. Now, connecting this thing up is kind of tricky because you have to connect it when the circuit or the load is off, then zero it, then energize the load. So if I just turn this on and clamp it on there, it's not going to give us a useful reading. And we have 2 batteries as well, so that makes things a little more tricky. But I'm going to turn it off, come out here, zero this, then turn it back on and see if we can see what's going on. Okay, there we go. Let's zero this out. Sometimes you got to hit it a few times and then don't touch anything. The position of this whole thing in relation to that clamp can affect things. Okay, so we're hovering right at about 0. Let's go turn our battery disconnects back on. Okay, we've re-enabled them, and check it out. We have almost 2.6 amps being drawn. So that is a pretty healthy parasitic draw. So this is the kind of stuff I used to do at a shop years ago. And typically you want to stay below about 250 milliamps or so, at least on a Ford. We do have keyless entry modules, you know, and some other stuff like that that are going to pull a little bit of power. But after the General Electric module goes to sleep, that's when it kills all the dome lights and everything. Oh, I'm an idiot. Check it out. I just realized that draw is the dome lights inside. Okay, so that screwed us up. I should have closed the door. It's a little tricky because being in a chair, I've got to go all the way around the van and there's dirt over there, so it's kind of a pain, but anyways. I was gonna say 2 amps is a bit intense for a parasitic draw. Okay, there we go. Now we're down to 720 milliamps, 740 milliamps. That actually makes sense. For 2 giant batteries over 2 days, that will definitely run them dead. So what I'm gonna do at this point, because the thermal camera is not helping us and nothing was super obvious, with a 750 milliamp draw, that's not gonna be enough to create enough heat for that camera to see. So I'm gonna hop on the van, I'm gonna fire it up, I'm gonna move it over so I can get all the way around this thing and I don't have to keep running through the dirt and going back and forth. The only reason I didn't do that in advance is I didn't want to heat everything up. But now that we know the thermal camera is not gonna help us, let's move this and make it easier. As much as I love dirt, I don't want to clean my chair every 10 minutes today. Okay, we're sitting inside here now. Just so you can hear what it sounds like. After cycling the lift once so I can get in here, and then after the glow plugs run a cycle, you'll hear we have just enough power to start this thing as long as it starts in the first try. So there you can tell the batteries are getting pretty low, but it still starts. If I waited till tomorrow, it wouldn't have started. All right, a few minutes has passed here, and what I've done is reconnect this thing up. But what I did was turn off, so I've got 2 battery disconnects, 1 for each battery. And seeing as how this is only gonna show us half the load, I turned off the rear battery and now we're only running from this front one. And as you can see, we've got 1.4 amps coming out. So I think if we do math, the 740 or whatever it was, milliamps times 2-ish should be about that. Assuming that both the batteries are the same size. I have not been able to see that other battery yet, so I don't know. But anyways, that's our draw right there. That makes sense in my mind for the amount of power. So what we're gonna do now is basically not touch this thing. I'm going to run around and start pulling fuses and see what we can figure out. Actually, I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab one of my wireless security cameras and set it right here. That way I can keep an eye on this from my phone while I'm inside there pulling fuses. That way we can figure out when we find one. All right, I'm working away here, pulling fuses and auxiliary wiring and stuff like that. Nothing's changed so far, but then I realized we have the power supply or the circuit breaker here going back to the lift. And if it does have a wireless module, it's gonna be powered via this. So let's hit the test button here on the lift and see if that makes a difference. So apparently the lift uses about 300 milliamps when it's just sitting there idle. The doors are closed right now, and when the second power door closes, it connects a micro switch that disables the lift or puts it into sleep mode. But apparently it's about 300 milliamps that it uses. So that would be a draw that maybe after a couple of weeks could be an issue, but at least now we know that. So we're gonna go ahead and leave that off. And now we're down to 1 amp basically, or almost 1.1 amps. But yeah, we're gonna continue looking around here. What I've been doing is trying to rule out a bunch of the aftermarket stuff because there's a bunch of little fuse holders like this all over the place. That one was empty. And this automatic circuit breaker right here, I took the power feed off of this to see if that would make a difference, and it did not. I forgot these fuses are kind of hard to remove, and I don't have my needle nose pliers here. So Anyways, I'm just going to keep looking around, and I'm sure we'll find this eventually. So this thing had a really nice auto page, like 3G cellular remote start monitoring system and all that. Basically, all of these wires right here are what connected to that. And my friend that had this van for about 5 years had no idea this was in here, and he never had the remotes for it. Sometimes with these things, they can go into kind of a limbo mode and sit there pulling power. Well, I disconnected it, obviously, and we still have the quiescent power draw, which, come on, update. We're still right at about 1 amp. So I've checked all of the aftermarket add-ons and fuse holders and all that stuff, and somehow this is the only needle nose pliers I have right here at the bus. But I'm gonna do the thing that's annoying and go through the fuse box, pulling every single fuse, and then checking our little display here, and we're just gonna have to do it that way. But I was trying to go around. Oh wait, hang on, there's one more random fuse here. What is this? Little 10 amp one. Nope, still 1 amp drop. I was trying to find all of the aftermarket stuff, and there's another automatic circuit breaker here. Well, anyways, I was trying to find all the aftermarket stuff and rule that out, but I'm just gonna blow through the fuse box and see what we can figure out that way. I think I found the power draw. We're showing 7 milliamps right now with the dome lights off. Turn them on, we go up to 3 amps. Turn off the dome lights, back down to 7. I know you probably can't see that. I think it was the headlight switch. Hang on. So let me turn this off, and then we'll wiggle this a little more. Yeah, it's the headlight switch. I just, for some reason, just popped into my head. I'm like, oh yeah, Ford headlight switches. And when I drive, I always reach over and turn the illumination brightness up all the way. And I think what that was doing was just barely hitting the dome light circuit enough. Yeah, because as I wiggle this, it goes between 1 amp. Yeah, so right now we're at 1 amp. I didn't click the dome lights on, I just rotated it. And when I turn it back, we're down to 60 milliamps. Yeah, and that's well within the margin of a Ford that's sitting here with the General Electric module still running. We found it. I wish I could have done it before I pulled every single fuse on this box, but there we go. Now we're up to 1.1 amps. And watch, all I have to do is rotate this knob ever so slightly, and it drops right back down. Oh man, it's a good feeling when you actually find something like that. This could have been like a multi-day, week-long project, but Ford headlight switches, there you go. That's really funny. You know, we've got this van here with a whole bunch of mods on it, and you know, to be honest, all of the electrical work that was done on this thing, at least in the last, you know, 5 or 6 years when my friend done it, was done by a very reputable shop. And I've been noticing a lot of things in here the way they're done. Even the second alternator has its own ground running to the chassis, but everything's insulated, everything's tied up really nice. At first glance, it seems like, whoa, look at all this wiring. Like, I gotta do something about this. But then I start digging into it and I realize it's in pretty good shape. So all this extra stuff on the van, all these things that could be drawing power, turns out it's just the headlight switch. Classic Ford problem. I don't think these things are more than 16 bucks. I'm gonna order one up at the parts shop, probably drive down there and grab it. And they're super easy to swap. All right, in the meanwhile, I'm gonna pick up all my tools and stuff. I'm gonna get the battery charger on this thing. I've got a big 30 amp battery charger, and we're gonna get this thing charging, and then we'll probably drive the Caravan down to the parts store. So, I'm super happy with that. Unless you've worked in a shop or you've had to deal with this before, it's one of those things that's just a sinking feeling, and it's like, sometimes they're impossible to find, but we got it. Okay, we have a headlight switch. Turns out this particular one does not come with the knob, but that's fine. I think our problem with the old one was this little sort of variac or variable resistor thing down here. So anyways, we'll get this thing jammed in there, and I'm hoping the connector's not burnt. This van has the aftermarket lighting up top here, and those are all halogen bulbs. And it's still got halogen headlights and running lights. So yeah, hopefully the connector's okay. We'll find out in a minute. Okay, here we have a new switch. And seeing as how our dashboard is already partially disassembled, this will make things a little bit easier. There's a secret button up underneath there to remove this, and actually let's verify it fits in the new one. Yep, seems good there. There's a little button right here you can press and it releases that. Yeah, some of these, oh, maybe we can. Sometimes if you're sneaky, you can, oh yeah, I think we might be good. I think we can gain access to this without actually removing this entire bezel up here. Yeah, all right. Let's see if I can use my skills to do things without shorting everything out here. And hopefully also without breaking everything. I should probably look at the connector first though. Make sure it's not burned. Okay, looks fine. Excellent. Oh, broke the connector. Actually, I think it was already broken. One tab just came right off. But that's okay. Worst case scenario, we can just run a zip tie around it if the one on the other side also breaks. What I'm gonna try and do is pull the entire switch out and then unplug it. Okay, now we can get the whole thing out of here. Oh crap, is it different? Okay, no, we're good. So what always happens with these things, hang on, let me reframe this. So what happens is these connectors get pretty brittle, and usually when you just barely touch them, this part will snap off. But these things are hard to remove, even when they're out. So you have to very carefully and gently apply some force right here while you're wiggling the whole thing, because the spade connectors in here are massive. I used to have a little screwdriver that was just the right size for this. I don't know how many hundreds of these things I've done in the Ford shop over the years. There we go. Whoo, it's hot. Put this back in here so you can see. So we've got this little variable resistor right here. And what that does is adjust your dash lights. Yeah, it looks a tiny bit burned if you look right there at that contact. So I think what's happening is when the thing is all the way over like this, yeah, you can actually see air in the connector there. So it's just barely touching just enough to cause some resistance. Although really that circuit should not be active when the headlights are off, but regardless, it's clearly giving us a problem. So this guy doesn't look too bad. It's slightly discolored from heat, but our plastic is not deforming, so I think we should be good. And even though this one tab is broken, it's fine. It'll hold everything in there, just, you know, no problems or whatever. Looks like our alarm system tapped off of the parking light circuit there. There's this little threaded adapter that holds it on, and it threads into this front part here, and then the knob goes through it and connects in there. This harness was sliced up for that alarm. I may reuse that wire because I am definitely going to put another remote start on here, but I would like to bundle this back up a little bit if I can. There we go. There's just a lot of sharp metal edges down there, and I like to prevent wire abrasions if possible. Yeah, and about 80% of all this crap here is from that alarm. So what I'm probably going to do is order a new remote start system, and then because there's a couple of inputs I want to use, like the hood pin and the door locks and the running lights and whatnot. I think the horn is also in there. So I'm just going to let all this dangle for now until I order that and get it installed. So Now we basically shove this up in here, thread this guy on, and that's pretty much it. Click. All right, there we go. So now we can carefully put our panels back on here. There we go. Put in our bezel, aka bezel. It just screws in. Then this guy just pushes right in there. And there we go. We have a new headlight switch. That little variable resistor in there sounds crunchy. But as you can see, these things just kind of wobble around in here. Oh, well, there's a problem. Yeah. Well, that'll do it. That'll short everything out and screw with your pizza. Pizza? What does that even mean? Thank you, little HDR AS50 action camera. You've done your job well. Turn that off. Let's get our battery charger reconnected here. And we will put this on 30 amp mode. There we go, regular batteries. So anyways, guess we can get rid of that. This thing is awesome. I'm gonna link this down below, Amazon associate link, of course, but these things are great. And you know, down to 10 milliamps resolution, I'd say the accuracy is maybe 20 to 30 milliamps, but the fact that it can even go that low is awesome. Really cool bit of kit here. So it's funny that the headlight switch was messed up, because that dovetails in nicely with us replacing the headlights with lower amperage variants that are also significantly brighter. Now, this van being from 2000, well, it depends on the manufacturer, but in this particular application, we are pre-CAN bus, which means we don't have light monitoring circuitry, we don't have to worry about ballast resistors and all that stuff. So we can just put in whatever headlights we want, and since that's just a dumb mechanical switch, it will turn them on and not care about anything. Unlike that stupid blue thing over there. Oh, it comes with white gloves? What is this? Ooh. So these are 9007 drop-in replacements. These do happen to have internal ballast resistors, but the cooling is built in. You can see there's a little fan there, got some airflow. All the drivers and everything are completely built into this. So supposedly, we can just jam this in here, and I should probably replace these housings. They're looking kind of grungy. But in theory, we can just jam these things right in there and don't need to do anything extra. So it's cool. I enjoy how they gave us a set of white gloves. And then we've got these little turn signals that are somewhat similar. I like the look of the switchback ones, and that means there's two different colors. We do have a little projector on the end here, which isn't 100% compatible with these housings, but it alternates between white and amber. And same with these. These have a, actually, do these have a resistor built in? I don't remember if these do, but they plug right in and usually work fine. So let's get our headlights popped out of here, which is pretty easy on a Ford van. There we go. All right, those pop up. Then the whole housing should just come right out of here. There we go. And our tabs are broken off the headlights. Not surprising. I think someone tried to like paint the taillights, because on the back there's a bunch of this black garbage. Oh wait, that's on the outside. I think I can clean that off. I actually just got some Goo Gone delivered. But let's compare here. We'll pull these things out and compare the depth of the halogen bulb with the new LED ones, because the placement of this filament is super important for the housings to work correctly. Man, the guy driving that car must be so cool. So the trick is making sure the filaments are in the same spot, because the high beam and low beam filaments are slightly offset, and that's what changes the position of how the reflectors work in here. So we've got these lined up. It appears to me both the filaments are just about in the spot they need to be. So yeah, cool. Maybe this will just drop in and work. I am, however, going to grab some of that goo gone and see if we can clean this up. I'll be right back. You can see it's kind of coming off. This reminds me of being a lot of work though. I think I'm probably going to replace these housings anyways. They get pretty brittle over time and the adjusters tend to get weird on them, so I think we'll just 86 that for now. Let's grab our new bulb and get this slotted in here, which it goes one way versus the other, which I think is this way. There we go. Looks like we're level. I think this one, sometimes these are adjustable, so you can put them in different positions to adjust the beam pattern if it's, you know, blasting up towards the sky or whatever. But our existing lock fits right on there. Inspect our connector here. It's got a little dirt on it, but it's not melted or anything. So plug this in. There we go. Ooh, we have lights. So over here on the left, I'm trying to shield the sun from the camera. Over on the left is the halogen. And then over here on the right, we have the new ones. And if you notice, it looks like our beam patterns are the same. So we may not have to do any crazy adjustments on these new ones here. I think they might work. Sorry about the flickering, the sun is obnoxious today. So now we're gonna do the same treatment on the turn signal and running lamps here. A T15. Ford likes to use a lot of these on their turn signal bulbs, but we've got a screw right here and another one down here. We've got a little twist lock style thing here, so you can just give this a twist. That pops right out. And as you can see, we have a grungy little bulb here. See if I can do this without exploding in my hand. Looking closely here, you can see the 11 herbs and spices are starting to flake off of this halogen bulb. So let's revitalize this with something a little bit fancier. There we go. And I think I'm going to power this up with it hanging out just to see what it looks like. Shield your eyeballs, this might be bright. Oh, hang on, I forgot I have to back down here so I don't get into the mud. So there's our running lights. You can see that is scaldingly white. Let me hit the 4 ways. A running light should still be on, but anyways, you can probably tell that's pretty bright. The one thing I did forget to grab, however, was an electronic flasher module, because we're probably going to get some hyper flash going on. Unless this van already has an electronic one in there, but I'll probably just rob that off the other van for now. So that's in there. We've got a weird little lens on the front and bulbs on the side. This may not be quite as bright because of that lens. I prefer to have more of the LEDs all the way around, because these housings are designed to work with reflectivity as opposed to direct light firing straight out of it. So there's a little tab right here that has to go into that hole. So we will slot that in. Reinstall our screws. Don't want to go super tight on these because all this stuff will break. All right, cool. And there we go. We got the lights done on this side. I'm going to work on the other side now, and then probably after the sun sets, which will be here in hair past the freckle, I will come back out here and we can see if these headlights need adjusting, because I'm pretty sure they will a little bit. We do have some, oh, I didn't get the adjustment mechanism back in there. Hang on. There we go. There we are. We'll just latch these down. Yeah, I think someone tried to do the spray-on tinting at one point on these, and it looks a little bit garbagey. Okay, I'll be back in a few hours. All right, quick recap on the power draw situation. The way Ford headlight switches work is you pull the knob in and out to turn on your headlights and running lights, and then you rotate that same knob to adjust the dash illumination. Then if you turn it all the way counterclockwise, it bugs. It completes a circuit, and what's going on over here? Why are people running? Anyways, when you turn it all the way counterclockwise, it turns on the dome lights. In this scenario, what was happening was turning the illumination all the way counterclockwise. The contact in there was messed up just enough that it was feeding a very small amount of power to the dome lights, and they weren't coming on. So, replace the switch and it's fine now. We did find out that the lift has a draw when it's idle. I think it was around 300 milliamps, maybe a little more, something like that. That's kind of high, but it's within the realm of wheelchair vans. As most of you probably know, if you leave a wheelchair van parked for a couple of weeks, the batteries are going to be dead. But that's why this thing has disconnects. So I think we're good. I'm really happy we found that. I've had vehicles in the shop before for over a month trying to track down drains like this. And the thing is, this van used to have a different lift in it. I'm sure there's still old modules behind the panels and the walls, and it just turns into a complete nightmare having to uninstall panels and remove the interior. It's a whole thing. So I'm happy. By the way, right now I'm just doing a quick burn-in test on these new LEDs. I'm just running all the new lights here for a few minutes to make sure they're going to be okay. Usually when these things are manufactured, if they last 5 minutes, they'll last 6 months or more. Anyways, I'm going to wait till it gets a lot darker, and then I'll actually show you these lights. They're kind of neat. Welcome to It's Darker Outside. And as you can see, these lights seem to be lighting up pretty well. The beam pattern cuts off there right at the top of the tall dead grass. So I don't think I'm gonna have to adjust these at all. We do in fact have a bit of a hyper flash situation going on. So shield your eyes, we're gonna be flashing here for a minute. Oh, interesting. So these bulbs are a little bit different than the other ones. The running light turns off, and then when the turn signal turns on, it blinks amber. Then a few seconds later, it turns back on. Here, look. So we got the flashing. Now wait for it. Then that comes back on. I actually don't really like that functionality. The ones on the other van don't do that. But I don't know. Should be fine, maybe. Looks like we do need to do a little bit of aiming. You can tell by the smoke out here that the angles aren't quite the same. Man, it's so crazy. It's like 5:30 at night, and it's already completely dark. The fly zapper is doing its job. Anyways, we got the power draw figured out. Batteries should be good now. So what I'd like to do is get one of those 5 amp onboard battery chargers that you just mount under the hood and it stays connected. Then you can plug in a cord and keep the thing charged. Seeing as how it's also diesel powered, it does have a block heater. I haven't yet inspected the cabling or the wires on that to make sure it's safe to plug in, but I think both of those things would be handy to have just in different scenarios. And I can put one of those removable plugs that go on the fender or something like that, so you can just plug in an extension cord and keep the engine warm and also, you know, charge the batteries, keep them topped off and all that. But for now, I think we're good. As far as the live stream on Thursday, I think what we'll do is do it Friday, and then we can look at the chaos of Black Friday or whatever all the online deals are. I don't know. We'll figure out something. There's always projects to work on, but we're going to postpone it till Friday. I think that's going to be the easiest thing to do because, as it turns out, my schedule is somewhat unknown. And yeah, so anyways, we'll call that good. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I'll see you Friday on the live stream at 3 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for watching.